Hey there everyone, it's Ali from Ali CJ Cooks and Plant Studio Cooks, and today we are going to make some super crispy on the outside and wonderfully fluffy on the inside roast potatoes for your Sunday roast, for your midweek roast, or for any time roast, and in particular for dare I say it, Christmas coming up. So I'm using Maris Piper in England. Now basically you wanted a good all-rounder, a good all-round potato. So nothing particularly special here. You've seen the sort of the size of the potatoes that I've held in my small to medium sized hand, and I had sort of two there. Now I think that's a good portion for one person, maybe a little bit more dependent on your appetite. So get those peeled and cut into halves. You don't want them cut too small, otherwise they will be too crispy on the outside and there won't be enough fluffy left on the inside. There'll be no room. So into a saucepan with some cold water, bring them to the boil. You don't need to season at this point, and pop the lid on. Just let them simmer for probably about no more than 5 minutes and then drain them off. Essentially what you want is a potato that's sort of just started to cook, and you'll see in a minute, I'll show you the edges, and they just start to sort of flake and become a little bit powdery on the outside, but you couldn't pop a knife in there and have them sort of drop off with no resistance, so they're still completely raw in the middle. Just the outside starts to soften up a little bit. To get all the steam out, pop a tea towel over the top of your colander whilst they're still hot, and it will absorb all that steam and ensure that you don't end up with sort of too much moisture in your potatoes, and that's really the best way of doing it. So keep them steaming with the tea towel over the colander, and do that for probably about 5 minutes, so they're still hot. Once the steam has evaporated as much as possible, get them back into the saucepan. You don't want to make too many dishes for yourself, so there's no need to use a fresh bowl or a fresh pan, and then just sprinkle on some plain flour, not too much. You've seen the amount I've sprinkled on here, and using my very vintage salt and pepper shakers, season up your potatoes. You can add herbs and a little bit of paprika if you want to. I'm just using salt and black pepper at this stage, not too much, just enough, just what you'd really sprinkle on if you had them on your plate in the first place. Pop the lid on, and then because they've cooled down a bit, you can hold the pan because that's not going to be too hot, and give them a really good shake. And don't worry about them sort of smashing against the sides of the pan, because that will help the flour and the seasoning get right into the potato. Now take an oven-proof dish, so it can be either a roasting dish like this one or a roasting tin, and just drizzle on a little light vegetable oil on the bottom of the dish. Get that into a hot oven just for a minute or two to heat up. My oven is about 180 degrees. You can get it you can take it a little bit hotter if you want to make sure that they get really crispy. Throw all your seasoned coated potatoes into the dish, and then just sprinkle over a little drizzle of oil with your thumb over the top of the bottle. And get those into the oven. Probably wait until about, I don't know, maybe about 20 minutes until they start to cook, and then take them out, turn them over, pop them back in. They want a good hour between 180 degrees and 200, dependent on the heat of the oven. So you want them nice and browned like this, nice and crisp on the outside, so that you get that, scrape the knife along them and just check, give them a tap, make sure that they are good and crispy, and they will be lovely and soft and fluffy on the inside and absolutely delicious. And the coating is already seasoned, and that sort of flour really adds something extra. Now if you want gluten-free, you can use a little bit of rice flour. Mix of rice flour and corn flour works well, and it's just as good. So it's up to you, whatever you've got in your cupboard. But I'll show you here. I'll cut into the middle. The outside is gorgeous and crisp and seasoned, and the inside is lovely and fluffy and pillowy, and they are bang on. Hope you enjoyed it. Let me know if you make them. #AliCJ Cooks. Have a fabulous day or evening.